Alright guys, it's time to embark on a new journey. We are going to get started with 38 Special and 357 Magnum. Posted a couple videos over the last few weeks looking for some feedback, looking for some suggestions as far as guns and caliber and all of that crap. I knew I wanted a revolver and a lever action gun, so I appreciate all the subscribers and viewers helping out, answering the polls and providing feedback and all that sort of crap. What we ended up going with, we got a Ruger GP100 Match Champion. Beautiful. Just plain beautiful. Feels great in the hand. I've been playing around with it here for the last couple days, trying to familiarize myself with the controls and get used to the grip. It's feeling like it's going to be a nice one. We'll have a separate video on this guy, taking a close look at it and you know, shooting its first shots and playing around with that. That will be coming. And the other gun went with the Henry Big Boy Silver. Oh man, she's a beauty. Just absolutely beautiful. Same thing, we're going to have a you know, separate video taking a good close look at this guy and seeing if it'll shoot. But this video, the focus is going to be on the reloading. We need to load up test rounds to you know, try out the guns with. I wanted to talk about the the equipment that I've bought to get started into this new cartridge. I guess we could do that. Let's talk about that. First thing was dies, and this was an easy decision. Getting into a new pistol caliber, I'm going to buy a set of Lee dies. One of their 4-die sets, their deluxe Lee Deluxe pistol die set. Get a carbide resizing die, a neck expanding die, powder through expanding die, a bullet seating die, and a Leaf Factory crimp die. Of course, you get the shell holder and a little powder scoop as well. It's the best value in reloading. Yep, that was an easy decision, so we're going to be using Lee dies. I picked up several different bullet molds, right? So we're going to be casting bullets, and I just tried to cover, I looked at what was most popular and tried to pick, you know, some different weights to play around with. The first is a little guy, 125 grain. So yeah, it's a 358 125 RF, so round flat. Stuck with the flat nose stuff, you know, for the lever gun. Also got a 158 grain. Let's see, TL358 158 semi-wad cutter, so that's a tumble lube design. And I went with the C358 200 RF. That's 200 grain round flat. That's a big old bullet for 38 357. Fortune Cookie 45LC did a little series with all about that 200 bullet. Shot some that were powder coated and not powder coated, and 38 Special, 357 Magnum, 38 Special plus P. He kind of just went through a whole bunch of stuff. So that's going to definitely be a very useful guide whenever we start playing around with those bullets. So I didn't want to start with cast bullets because, well, you know, I gotta cast them and all of that crap, and I wanted to shoot fast. So I picked up a couple boxes of Hornady XTP hollow points. I love these bullets in my 9mm, my 45 ACP. Great bullets. So I picked up 3 different weights of these guys. Figured they'd be a good you know, entry into it. 125 grain, 140 grain, and 158 grain. So got a pretty good mix of weights. So those are bullets to play around with now. Also, so on the brass side of the house, I went with Starline brass. Seems to have a good reputation. It's not too expensive. So those are 357 Magnums. I debated whether or not to buy 38 Special. You know, I don't have any guns that won't do the Magnums, but I went ahead and grabbed some anyway, just for the hell of it. I did go with nickel plated for the 38 Special, just so I could, you know, tell them apart easier. Like, you know, if these are going to go in the wet tumbler together and that sort of crap, and I didn't want to have the nightmare of trying to sort them later. But these are also Starline. Seems to be very nice. I was measuring, you know, the lengths on them. Boy, they're just about perfect. Very consistent, just under the trim length right now. So they should be pretty much ready to go. I got 200 pieces of 357 and 100 pieces of the 38 Special. Figure that ought to get us started. I grabbed some ammo boxes and wanted to try a couple different things. I'm picky about my ammo boxes. I like the Planos, you know, because of the hinge. They have a very nice hinge, but they're a little bit of a pain to open, and I've broken these clasps before and whatever. But so I grabbed a couple Planos, and I grabbed a couple Frankfurt Arsenal as well with the you know, the folded plastic hinge. These are like $2 and these are $3.50 or something, like, you know, they're all very cheap. So I wanted to grab several and wanted to have a couple different styles in case, you know, later. Well, I'm starting from nothing. I have nearly zero knowledge about what we're about to do here. So at this point, I don't even know whether, you know, am I going to be able to load common ammo for both guns? I think probably so. But if not, like maybe I've got some really hot rounds that, you know, should only be used in one gun or the other or whatever. It's nice to have a couple different designs of ammo boxes, just kind of as an extra, you know, extra way of segregating them. I don't know if that made the least bit of sense, but whatever. So there's those guys. I was going to pick up some a nice loading tray that was nicely fitted for 357, but whenever I went to look it up, the Frankfurt Arsenal Perfect Fit reloading tray that I have for my 6.5 Grendel, the number 4, is the correct size for these. So the 6.5 Grendel loading blocks are going to work out great. Tell you what, while it's on my mind, let me check some of the universal ones here. Like this, you know, this Red Hornady is one that I like to use a lot. Nothing really good on that side. Yeah, that side would probably be the best bet, but it's not a good fit. Yeah, whatever. So I'm glad to have these, and they're only a couple bucks. All right, let's think. Where do we go from here? I made a mistake when I was buying crap. My little shopping spree for 357 Magnum. I forgot to buy primers. I forgot to buy Magnum primers. I need some small pistol Magnum primers because that's what the manuals use. You know, that's what the load data is all for, and apparently it can get you into trouble. Because I was doing a little searching just to see, you know, what I could load up with some standard primers. You know, I've got standard primers, and one of the hot Magnum loads, you're looking at like, I don't know, Winchester 296, which is, you know, the same as H110. I guess IMR 4227. Some of these powders that are a bit slow, in the 357 world are apparently tough to ignite, and they kind of need the Magnum primers just to get them burning. I'm new. I'm not talking from experience. I'm talking from, you know, reading what other jackasses on the internet have to say on the subject. And apparently it can, yeah, best case you get unburnt powder everywhere, and, you know, worst case you end up with a squib because your stupid powder didn't ignite. So for today's video, I don't have any Magnum primer, so I want to stay away from this stuff. So what we'll probably do, and stand by, where's my powder? There it is. Alright, if you guys who've been watching a while know, Unique. That's my favorite pistol powder. So for our first loads here, why not just go ahead and stick with Unique? Why not? It's a very, very, very common powder for, you know, the for shooting cast lead and stuff. This and bullseye and some of that other sort of crap that, you know, is kind of normal in the cast lead loading stuff. Wow, where was I going with that? What was I saying? I'm a little bit kind of crazy today for some reason. Oh, yeah, but for the hotter loads, like the Hornady manual here, as a good example, if we look at their 357 Magnum, they have separate rifle data than the pistol data. So like on the rifle side of the house, for, I don't know, let's just say the 158 grain, it's, you know, it's H110, Winchester 296, IMR 4227. Another one that comes up a lot is this Alliant 2400. It apparently does burn well with the non-Magnum primers. I saw that mentioned quite a bit, and apparently Alliant even recommends that you use standard primers with 2400. I'll have to pick up a can of 2400 whenever I get a chance. Looks like Alliant or Accurate number 7 and number 9 are used here as well. So I may need to pick up a powder or two, but for the time being, we're just going to stay away from that stuff and stick with some Unique. Now, there is Unique load data in the 38 Special. Where'd it go? There we go, 38 Special. And I tell you what, we're going to load specials. Let's just go ahead and load the light one. We'll load some of these 125 grain XTP hollow points. These are little guys. Got a cantilever. Mean and angry looking hollow point. Yep, looking good. So I think that's what we'll do. We'll load up some of these dudes and in 38 Special. So we'll just load specials today. We'll just hold off on the Magnums. Unique, it shows a max charge of 5.8 grains and a minimum charge of 5.1. So 5.5 grains of Unique sounds like a decent charge. All right, I'll tell you what. Let me get situated, get some crap cleared off the table, and we'll get to loading. The table is set. All right, so luckily they didn't short me any brass, so we've got 100 pieces of nickel-plated 38 Special brass. So I've got, yep, here's a pack of Federal small pistol match primers, just standard primers. Earlier when I was rambling, did I actually make the point that the 38 Special load data that uses the faster powders like Unique calls for standard small pistol primers? So that was the whole freaking point I was trying to make, is, you know, there's slower powders. Magnum loadings generally call for Magnum primers, and then the lead loads and special loads like this seem to call for standard ones. Okay, first of all, we need to get dies in the press, so let's do that. Okay, luckily we've got 4 openings in our turret. First die we need is the full-length sizing die, right? See our decapping pin hanging out there. And even before we set this, we need the shell holder. Come on. Come on. There we go. Shell holder into the ram. There we are. Now, I tell you what, I could pull out the instructions. This guy's set like basically every other Lee resizing die I've ever seen. Screw it down until it touches, tighten the lock ring. That's pretty much it. This is a, I don't know, did I mention, this is a carbide resizing die, so you might see that shinier sleeve inside of there, which means we don't have to lubricate our cases, which is good, because I don't like lubing cases. Now, the other thing, yeah, and the carbide ring also, you don't want to cam over really hard on a carbide die, but this one, the carbide ring seems to be pretty well protected, like it's below this, you know, the outer steel portion, so I think you'd have a pretty hard time getting any significant force on that carbide sleeve anyway, but whatever. It's a warning, you see, so I figured I'd pass it along. So screw it down until it touches, and then, yep, I'll go just a little bit, just to make sure, no like hard cam over or anything, but definitely nice, good, solid, intimate contact. Come on, get in there. There we go. Okay, while we're here, let's go ahead and drop some of the other dies in. Now, this is where it gets a little bit confusing because there are separate instructions for 38 Special versus 357 Magnum. So let's see. Powder through expanding die. Screw it in until it touches. Back it out one full turn. That's kind of your standard, that's the way my 9mm 45 ACP dies are set. For Magnum cases, back out the expander die an additional 1 3/4 turns. So if we weren't loading specials, we'd need to go down till it touches and then back it out 2 3/4 of a turn. But we're loading specials, so we're going to be 1 turn off the shell holder. And you know that's the starting point, right? So from 1 turn off the shell holder, yeah, there it is. Then you adjust as necessary to get the to get the flare you're looking for. There we go. All right. So whenever we get to that point, we'll have a look at that guy. The bullet seating die is another one with different instructions for the Magnums. For the specials, you screw it down until it touches. Okay, there it is, and you back it out 3 full turns. For Magnums, we would go an additional 1 3/4 turns for what, 4 3/4 turns. But we're specials, so we're 3 turns out. 1, 2, 3. Get in there. Come on. Come on. There we go. 3 turns off the shell holder. We'll be adjusting that guy. Once we get to the point where we're setting our seating depth, the last die is our factory crimp die. Screw the leaf carbide factory crimp die in until it just touches the shell holder and back out the adjusting screw. Yep, that's it. So we screw down until it touches, then tighten the lock ring. Okay, there we are. Now, for those of you who may not be familiar, the factory crimp die also has a carbide sizing ring right there in the bottom. So these are really cool. Right there at the very end, it, you know, gives it one last squeeze through there, and if basically if it makes it through there, you're good. It's going to chamber. Yep. So there it is. That's tight fit. And then also, of course, it has the crimping portion. I had these apart earlier to clean them up, right? New set of dies. I always like to tear them apart and give them a quick clean. This is a little bit different than my 9mm and 45 ACP. If you can see it, going the wrong way. Come on, get it. There we go. Inside of this guy, there you go. You see that little ridge inside of there? That's where the business happens. So this guy comes up into there. That's a good fit. And then how much it gets squeezed up into that ridge is going to set our crimp. So a little different than the 45 ACP and 9mm ones. So it looks like, I would assume, we need to get that ridge part down. So yeah, the part where it sets down in there is what goes downward toward the case mouth. Okay. Alright, what was it? Back it down, or screw it down until it touches, and then there we go. Yep, and then the rest of the settings we have to do at the end once we've got some rounds in it. Alright, so step number one, I need to resize all these cases. It's not always necessary. You know, a lot of new brass, they tell you can go ahead and just load, but I like to resize anyway, because that's just how I roll. You know what? I should be flaring the case mouth while I'm here. While I am here doing this. So, this nice freshly resized case. Pardon me. If we grab a bullet. Just ain't happening, right? That's yep, never get it started. So, we need a little bit of flare. And let's see, I'm going to back this out a little bit. I don't want to over flare these. So this will be like about 3/4 turn off the shell holder. Let's run it up in this guy. See if that did anything. Okay, it didn't do anything crazy. It doesn't look like a trumpet or anything, so that's good. Alright, that bullet still doesn't really want to get down in there easily. So let's get down in there. Yep. Okay. We'll just work our way down a little bit until we finally get to where the bullet's going to be okay. That would actually probably be alright. It's still pretty tight. Of course, this isn't critical for, you know, for jacketed bullets like this, but when we're shooting lead, it'll become much more critical. A little bit farther. There we go. Now that bullet is just barely going down in there and getting started. So still a nice tight fit, so I don't feel like we're over flaring. Looking pretty good. Alright. I need to flare the ones I've already sized. Okay, now I can resize and flare them at the same time. You know, I do have the on the press priming option for this press. I need to pull it out and give it another try, because it would be ideal in this situation, you know, where we're loading up 100 rounds like this, where after we resized we could just go ahead down on the downstroke and put in a primer. Alright, just finished up with sizing. The dies did a great job. Everything seemed to go really well. Wanted to measure a couple of these again. Our maximum case length is 1.155 according to the Hornady manual, and our case trim length is 1.145. So let's just have a few look at a few of these. 1.146, 1.143, 1.145, 1.144. So they're all right around that trim length of 1.145. 1.147, 1.143. Yep, 1.145. Good to go. Really impressed with this Starline brass so far. Seems to be well made. I don't think their rifle brass is all that well thought of, but the pistol brass I've always read good things about. Alright, primers. That's what I need next. My original thought for this video, I was going to load up like all 3 of those boxes of XTPs. We were going to do 38 Special and 357 Magnum and hot stuff and not so hot stuff and all that, but this is better, right? Nice and simple. Let's just load up 100 specials and go out and test the gun. I need to start simplifying things a little bit. Makes for a more relaxing video, right? Come on. Get out of there. Alright. There it went. Alright. See how these primer pockets feel. Ooh, those feel nice. That silver Federal primer looks nice in that nickel-plated brass. Yeah, that depth's just perfect. Just finishing priming these last couple. I've got a powder measure full of Unique, and I got it set. I had originally said 5.5 grains, but I backed that off a little bit, so we're going to do 5.3 grains. Just to, you know, give ourselves plenty of room there. Oh, almost put that one in sideways. All right, there we go. 100 pieces. Primed and ready for powder. Let's measure a couple charges real quick just to make sure. Yep, there it is. Need a pan. First couple charges after a powder measure's been sitting a while are generally a little bit heavy. That one's about 5.4. .3. 5.24. So yeah, it's right there in that good enough area. Yep, 5.2. Make sure my... Yep, 0 is fine. .2. Yeah, it might be just a touch light, but that's completely okay. 5.2, 5.3, 5.5, it doesn't really freaking matter. As long as they're all the same, that will be enough. Alright, let's get these thrown. Alright, 100 charges thrown. That gets tiring on the arms. Alright, quick visual inspection. All those look good. Check the other tray. Yep, looking good. Alright, we need to set our bullet seating die and our crimp die. So let me get you a better view. Alright, going by the Hornady manual, our target overall length is 1.450. I assume it's going to line up with that cantilever there. Alright. Let's just run this guy up in here. It's backed out a lot, so I assume we probably won't even touch, or it might just barely touch. I really probably should have flared these cases just a little bit more, but I didn't. So we're going to deal with the consequences. Yeah, there we go. That's kind of in there. See if that'll get it started. Yep. Alright, so I assume we're 1.5 miles long because the cantilever is not even close. There we go. Seated it down a little bit more. Cantilever is a bit high. I assume this is going to be just a touch long. 1.450 is our target. 1.449. Interesting. So yeah, you can see not a lot of that cantilever below the case mouth. Yeah, there it is. 1.449. Yeah, I'll tell you what, let's seat one or two more. And then we'll move over and play around with the crimp die a bit. Yeah, I did not flare these enough. Being a pain in the butt. That's okay. Yep, 1.449. 1.449, 448, something like that. Tell you what, we'll do this first row, these first 5, and then we'll play around with the crimp die. .450. Good deal. I guess, you know, maybe because these are a touch shorter than trim length. Maybe that's why, you know, if you imagine these cases were out towards max length, that would eat up the rest of that cantilever. No big deal. Alright, let's go to the crimp die. What they tell you is you run it up into, actually the first thing, it'll go through that carbide sizing ring, right? Didn't even touch. So that's good. That means we're not getting any crazy bulges, or, you know, the flare wasn't so drastic that it needs to, yeah, okay, so there we are. All the way up in there. We screw this down until it touches, or, you know, until we feel it make contact. There it is. Sure. Yep. All right, now back to those instructions. With the loaded round in the die, turn the adjusting screw in until you feel it just touch the case mount. That's what we just did. Then move the cartridge out of the die, which we've done. Screw the adjusting screw in a half turn for a light crimp and 1 full turn for a heavy crimp. You can adjust for even greater crimp and never have to worry about buckling the case as with conventional crimpers. So, yeah, but that was back whenever we were talking about the overall length of the cases, and, you know, how I wasn't going to trim anything or any of that crap. That's what made me think of that and bring up that subject. If we were crimping with our seating die, which it's capable of, and we'll probably do at some point, I think, you know, I want to play around with that. Yeah, so crimping with the seating die, that length of the case becomes critical. Right, if you end up with one that's long, you can buckle the case. So, all right, I think, so these 5 rounds that we've got here, so the first one is their first recommend, which is a half turn. So this one we'll do with a half turn. It did get tucked in just a touch. That guy on the left. So I'll tell you what, there's that guy, and then we will go. The next half turn we'll do in 4 increments. So that's 5/8. About 6/8, about 7/8, and then about a full turn, more or less. Tell you what, let's have a quick uppy closey look at these and see if we can tell the difference. Alright, let's have a look. I'm going to pan to the right here, and it'll get, the crimp will get progressively heavier as we go. So that was a half, and then all the way up towards 1 full turn. That still doesn't look bad. See if I can get zoomed in on it without losing the focus. Pretty much all of them look good. that lightest one, it does. That's the one you look at and say, yeah, that could have been crimped a little bit more. But the others kind of seem okay. So I'll tell you what, we'll just stick with this heaviest setting. Looks fine to me. So that's what we'll go with. And I will get the rest of these bullets seated and crimped. And that'll pretty much do it. One other quick thing I want to do really quick is drop some of these guys in here and just make sure that yeah, those all seem just fine. Go down in there nicely. That's what they look like from the front. Ton of room there. Yeah, I guess this is the problem, you know, getting started. I don't even know what the hell I'm looking at. But they seem to be working okay. And those were actually the two lightest crimp that I grabbed. And those, you know, those chambered just fine. So, yeah, I think we're good to go. Alright, just seating these last few bullets. Man, these rounds are pretty. Have a look at those guys. Pretty nice looking if you ask me. Yeah, I think these nice light loads will be a good way to check out the guns, get used to them, get used to how they operate and that sort of crap. But looking forward to trying both guns. Really looking forward to it. And now we have got 100 rounds to play with. I think 50 shots per gun ought to be a nice little test, right? It goes without saying, right, that I've got 850 million videos planned. You know, this is the start of a big part of the channel, right? We're going to do a lot of these videos, and we're going to do our best to wear these guns out. Shooting, casting bullets, powder coating, all that sort of crap. So that's coming. So, alright. See you guys next time.